Please listen carefully.
Welcome to another episode of the Extra Buttery Podcast. We've got some special coverage for you this week, coming out of the Toronto International Film Festival, where I was mixed in with the thousands of people the past couple of weeks. I saw way too many films for my own good, and we're going to be talking about that to open up the show. And then we're going to cast our eyes ahead to the fall movie season. There's a nice smattering of big Hollywood blockbusters and prestige Oscar-grubbing candidates on the near horizon, so we're going to do a bit of a look ahead for that. But coming to you from Toronto, my name is Robert Snow, and joining me from Vancouver is my co-host Jason Chen. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
I sort of feel like I had a little bit too much dessert. That's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever done the whole film festival thing where you've just been watching like 2 or 3 movies a day for weeks. But I got to the end of my final film at TIFF a couple of days ago, and I was just kind of like a little bit dizzy. I'm like, what is real life?
Did you finally learn what your limits were like when it comes to watching movies?
I mean, I've always felt pretty confident that like 2 or 3 movies in a day, like a full like public screenings of movies.
3 is a bit much.
3 is a bit much, and like I start to feel pretty like oddly tired when I get to the end of the third one, and I'm not.
Oh, totally.
You know, I'm not like some people might who don't go to a whole lot of movies might look at you kind of funny, and they'd be like, "Well, what all you're doing is just sitting on your ass for 3 hours at a time."
Well, there's two kinds of tired, I would say. The first one is where like the film is just so bad that it's mentally draining just to be there. So like if you had a Transformers marathon, I think you'd be really tired. Right. And the other one is like if you sit through like 2 Paul Anderson movies back to back where it's just too much.
Yeah, like if you're sitting through a movie that requires a lot of you as a viewer, and like it's not
a lot of thinking, a lot of attention to detail. Yeah,
totally. If that kind of thing it can kind of drain you out, like if you're really paying attention. And you know, that's just the actual screening portion of it. There's also especially when it comes to TIFF, there's just the aspect of lining up outside the venues and being there an hour beforehand so you can get a decent seat, right, and all of that kind of thing. But yeah, so this year I saw 15 movies. That was 5 more than I did the year before.
Is this a new record?
Yeah, it's a new record. I feel like I could do a few more because there were a few days where I was only seeing 1 movie a day. But I was really pleased with the stuff I got into this year. I had in years past, you know, there's been cases where I really wanted to get into something and then I had to go with a plan B or a plan C option. But I got into pretty much everything that I wanted to this year. So that made me feel pretty happy.
Uh-huh.
But I have to say, my top 3 of the festival this year, it would have to be Guillermo del Toro's Shape of Water, Greta Gerwig's Lady Bird, and Martin McDonagh's 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Okay, so Martin McDonagh's, I have no idea, but let's start from the top. The first one, Greta Gerwig's film.
Yes.
I've heard good things.
Yes, and you can actually go over to kinetoscope.ca and check out the full review that I wrote after I saw it. But essentially what we have here is it's Greta Gerwig's debut as a director, her feature debut. She's been writing screenplays for a number of years. So in that sense, she's not super new to the whole behind the camera side of things. But this is her first time kind of marshaling a troupe of actors and putting something together from start to finish. And it really, like, I opened the festival with Lady Bird, and it was what a way to open the festival. Like, this is a movie that has like a beautiful pacing with its humor, but you know, it's alternating between these really wry jokes and moments of drama, and you're just you're moving in lockstep with it.
What's it about?
It's about a grade 12 student in Sacramento, California, played by Saoirse Ronan, who people probably know from Brooklyn. She's getting ready to go out to college, and what she'd really like to do is apply for and get into a liberal arts college on the East Coast and get as far away from Sacramento as she can.
I don't blame her.
She comes from a pretty like lower middle class family, so her family doesn't have a lot of extra money, and they're kind of pouring all their resources into keeping her at the Catholic private school where she's been going to school. So let's take a listen to a little bit of the trailer for Lady Bird.
So, you're not interested in any Catholic colleges?
No way. I want schools like Yale, but not Yale because I probably couldn't get in.
You definitely couldn't get in.
Does Mom hate me?
If you're tired, we can sit down.
I'm not tired.
You were dragging your feet.
You are so infuriating.
Please stop yelling.
I'm not yelling. Oh, it's perfect.
Do you love it?
You both have such strong personalities.
There's kind of this tension between her and especially her mother, where her mother feels like the character played by Saoirse Ronan, who's actually, her nickname is Lady Bird. That's where the title of the film comes from. Her mother feels that Lady Bird is just not grateful enough, doesn't really realize how much effort that her parents are putting into affording this really expensive private school. And yet Lady Bird is just looking out past Sacramento. She's just got this drive. And I think a lot of people might be reminded of Max Fisher from Rushmore, the Wes Anderson film. Lady Bird is one of these characters who, even though she's really young, she's got this really strong sense of self and this ability to kind of tackle whatever life throws at her. And it's just a joy to kind of watch characters like that step out into the world and kind of like throw themselves at stuff. It's probably one of my favorite ways for a coming of age movie to build up its main character.
You really like those coming of age movies, huh?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I mean, like, maybe it's because like I feel a certain kind of kinship with characters who they're kind of on the outside of the whole high school experience, which, I can relate to. I obviously, I was not a...
Wait, did you not go to a regular high school?
No, but I was definitely not with the cool kids in high school, like I was always that...
Oh, well, fuck the cool kids.
I was always that weird, like, kid who was too smart for his own good. And so that kind of experience of wanting more from life and kind of throwing yourself up against barriers, that kind of gets me where I live.
Well, wait, what constitutes as a cool kid in Newfoundland? I'm trying to imagine.
Oh, but same thing as
like,
any.
Is this the kid who like has a skateboard and like huffs gas on weekends?
The gas sniffing is definitely that's present in that province, unfortunately, but no, it's the same as in any high school. You've always got the clique of cool kids who are mostly jocks and cheerleaders, and the guys like me who actually like English class or actually like history class. We're kind of dwelling on the sidelines.
Okay, fair enough.
With Lady Bird, I think it's really impressive when a director like Greta Gerwig can kind of come out of the starting gate and hit us with a movie like this on her first try. It feels like she's been making movies like she's been directing for much longer than she has.
Didn't she do Frances Ha? She was in that too, right?
She was, and I think she helped write it.
And that was a bit of a coming of age story.
Yeah, she kind of played a character who, an idiosyncratic character who knew her own mind and was again throwing herself up against an against an establishment. In that case, she was playing a character who was a few years older than the one that Saoirse Ronan plays in this one. So the challenges were different, but it's clear that she's drawing a little bit on personal experience, but it's not it would be a stretch to call it like an autobiographical film.
Right. And Martin McDonagh, he's the guy who did Seven Psychopaths, right? Okay, so like I remember not liking that film as much as In Bruges, which I loved. So is this kind of like another black comedy?
That's a good question. If you watch the trailer, like the Red Band trailer that came out for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, you'd probably see a lot of common material between that and Seven Psychopaths or In Bruges. It's got that tone in the trailer. But what comes out of the film as a whole, it's actually surprisingly compassionate. And that's actually a word that the programmer for the festival used when they introduced the film at the screening.
What does that mean? What does that mean when a film is compassionate?
Well, what the trick is knowing a little bit more about the plot. So the premise is that a woman played by Frances McDormand, her daughter was raped and murdered about six or 7 months prior to the events of the film. And the local police force in this small town in Missouri hasn't had any luck tracking down the killer. And meanwhile, they've got a few officers on the force who seem to be more interested in chasing after like petty thefts and, in keeping with the current political discourse, there's one officer played by Sam Rockwell who has like a case of torturing a black guy on his record, and he's infamous for that. So this enrages the character played by Frances McDormand, and she rents out these 3 billboards on one of the roads that leads out of town with a message that essentially challenges the police force to like, come on, get your act together, solve my daughter's murder already, you know. And it in a small town that would otherwise revere its police force, this is like super controversial. She gets the whole town up in arms at her. What draws out the compassion that the film programmer was talking about at the festival is that even though the trailer might lead you to think that the police chief, played by Woody Harrelson, or the police officer, played by Sam Rockwell, that they're the bad guys of the piece, it's interesting how many times Martin McDonagh allows Frances McDormand's character to actually just be decent towards them, or for them to be decent back towards her. Obviously, they have their differences, and they come to blows more than once, but they actually have a surprising amount of patience for each other, and they actually feel bad about some of the stuff they're doing. And it's not one of these cases where, unlike in a black comedy where a character might, like, I don't know, set someone on fire or punch someone in the face and it's played for laughs. In this one, you get a laugh, but then you're like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't be laughing. Maybe this is actually...
Okay. Okay, yeah, I kind of get... So it's similar.
It's similar, but there's a little bit more of the... There's a little bit more emotion kind of balancing out the laughs compared to his 2 previous films. And I think that may be one of the reasons why it did so well with audiences at TIFF, and it actually picked up the People's Choice Award, which it's a bit of an indicator for being that it's an audience award. It's not chosen by critics. It tends to be a pretty good indicator of what direction the Academy might go. The question is, like, is 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri something that like all of the stodgier people in the Academy might like? I don't know.
And what was the third film you talked about that you really liked?
Oh, Shape of Water.
Shape of Water, right? Guillermo del Toro. Is that just like a personal favorite?
Yeah, it's a personal favorite, but it is really well made. Like, a few people have described it as being kind of the culmination of all of his previous works. Like, this is like the film that he's been building himself up to make. And I sort of agree with them. Like,
I see.
It's a film that, if you show it to people who might have previously accused Del Toro of being too fantasy-oriented or being too much oriented towards like his fanboys or fangirls, this is a movie that feels the most mature, the most adult out of everything he's made. So that was kind of interesting. When he came out to talk about it after the screening, he actually teased out a few details that I didn't pick up on when I was watching it, but that really kind of raise up the film even more. And it really centers around the central romance of the movie, which is between a woman who's a cleaner at a secret facility in the United States that's housing this monstrous fish man that's been captured.
And she's mute or deaf?
Yeah, she's mute. She's played by Sally Hawkins, and she falls in love with this fish man who's played by Doug Jones under a whole bunch of makeup and prosthetics. You know, he's been the go-to guy for Del Toro for those kind of characters. And she's kind of drawn to this monster's character because he, being a fish man, he doesn't know the difference between her and a person who's not mute. You know, in his eyes, she's perfect. So this romance blossoms. He can't speak, so they don't have any dialogue together. But the film does really sell you on their romance. So here's a little taste of The Shape of Water.
Our only concern is the asset. The Soviets want it. Do you have it?
Sure, I'm getting it back. Did either of you see someone coming in or out of the lab?
Nothing out of the ordinary.
This is the most sensitive asset ever to be housed in this facility.
How'd they get in here?
We were looking at a highly trained group of at least 10 men.
Del Toro takes it further than you might expect. You know, he actually has sex scenes.
Whoa, really?
Yeah. He has Sally Hawkins, you know, she's allowed to be sexual with this creature. He even shows her, like, she's introduced as like masturbating in the tub in the morning before she goes to work. That's, you know.
So, okay, how does that work logistically? Is this like he's an animal, but he's like got like anatomy of like a male human being, I guess.
This is where Del Toro gets to be especially impish. He has a scene between Sally Hawkins and her best friend at work, played by Octavia Spencer, where Sally Hawkins comes into work the day after she first sleeps with the monster, and Octavia Spencer obviously guesses from the look on Sally Hawkins' face what happened, and then she's like, "How does that work?" And then she Sally Hawkins makes this kind of gesture with her hands to indicate that like the fishman's exoskeleton kind of opens up down below, and male genitalia come out, and it's a really funny scene.
This is like in Game of Thrones with Missandei and Grey Worm, where you're just like, how does that work?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's got the same kind of knowing humor to it. So, the thing about Shape of Water is it's being purposely edgy, because there's going to be people in the audience who find that aspect of it, that sexuality aspect of it, kind of maybe a turn off, like maybe enough
because it's basically bestiality.
Yeah, essentially. But this is where Del Toro's comments and during the Q&A became really important. He says that the whole point of depicting that to the extent that he does is to be an allegory for people in our world who who identify as other for one reason or another. Maybe they're transgendered, maybe they're maybe they have a disability, they have something that makes them not normal, and he wants to tell a story that kind of validates a sexual relationship that may not be normal in the traditional sense. And he kind of wants this movie to raise people like that up and make them feel the same as everybody else. So that's kind of like, that's a pretty noble thing to put in a movie that might otherwise just be written off as like a typical Del Toro sci-fi fable. And yeah, it's that combined with like all of the beautiful production design and the music and how much it references classic movies. Like there's so much in there that I loved. And there's even a cool little detail. We watched the film in a venue called the Elgin Theatre, which is in downtown Toronto. And there's actually a climactic scene with the Fishman that's shot in that exact theater. So we were actually watching the movie inside one of its locations.
That's pretty cool.
And it's basically preserved as is in the movie. And that was kind of a cool little meta moment.
So this is probably more interesting to me, but what movie did you not like?
Yeah, well, I'm glad we got to that, because there were a few things there were no films that like I outright hated, but there were two movies that underperformed for me. First would have to be The Current War with Benedict Cumberbatch. This is one that the story is, it's a period film. It's telling the story about the battle between Thomas Edison and George Westinghouse. When they were debating over the right type of electricity to become the standard in North America. And it's a kind of like, it's a historical, techie kind of topic that hasn't been covered in movies before. So it's interesting on that front. But the problem with the movie is that the director who was tasked with it, he's a fairly newbie director. Like, he's in his 40s, but this is maybe his third or fourth feature.
Right.
And it's probably his first one with a budget of this size and stars of this caliber. So he throws a whole lot at the movie visually. He's got all kinds of weird editing ideas and camera movement, and he's got long one-take shots where the camera is like roving around actors as they speak, and very kind of eccentric framings. Mm-hmm. All of that ends up feeling like a whole lot of flash and not a lot of substance. You're not really propelled forward into the war, the current war in the title, in a way that really resonates with you. You're not sure like whose side to be on. Like, should you be cheering for Edison? Should you be cheering for Westinghouse? And no matter how good Cumberbatch is, or no matter how good Michael Shannon is as Westinghouse, the performances just kind of feel like they're not being serviced by all of the technical wizardry that's on the screen.
Does like Benadryl Cabbage Patch have like a huge thing about like playing torture geniuses like
Maybe.
Edison, Doctor Strange, and Sherlock? Like, he's got this, like, he's almost typecast into that role where he's like the intellectual genius.
Yes, and that's part of the problem, because I think when he's confronted with a character like that, he tends to, I think if he's not working with the right director, he kind of falls back on old habits from previous characters that he's played. So you can look at this and you can see bits of Doctor Strange, bits of Sherlock. And he's one of the British actors who can't really do a convincing American accent.
Which is strange, right?
Yeah, because, there's a lot of British actors like Christian Bale, for example, who are great at American accents, and they can really nail the different dialects.
Well, he's also Welsh.
True. But Cumberbatch, when he does an American accent, I find he kind of sticks with a very flat kind of no specific region kind of American accent. And it's the same one he did for Doctor Strange. So if you've never seen the Wired video series about how people work on accents for movies, I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, we should get him to critique Mr. Cabbage Patch's accents.
Yeah, actually, it wouldn't surprise me if they did a new video in the series where they talk about it. Maybe once the Current War is actually out and people have had a chance to see it.
Yeah, I'm looking at the cast and it's got Pumpkin Patch, Michael Shannon, who's great.
Yep.
Nicholas Hoult, who's like always in pretty solid movies. Catherine Waterston's in it. Tom Holland's in it.
Oh yeah, it's packed with people. And Nicholas Holt's he plays Nikola Tesla, who he's actually good enough at Nikola Tesla, and the Nikola Tesla material is strong enough on its own that you almost find yourself wishing we just had a Nikola Tesla movie.
A spin-off time.
Yeah, which is too bad because the last thing you should be wanting while watching one movie is wishing that you were watching something else.
True.
Based on another character. So, yeah, it's one of those cases where there's a lot of great material in there, and I feel like it's almost a proving ground for the director making something great for his follow-up. But here there's just too much going on visually for you to really get into it. Which is too bad. And the other one would be Downsizing with Matt Damon. It's the new film from Alexander Payne, who directed The Descendants and Nebraska. So I went into Downsizing kind of excited because I pretty much love all of Alexander Payne's movies. And the cast here is pretty strong. You've got Matt Damon in the lead, you've got Christoph Waltz, and even Neil Patrick Harris and Laura Dern.
With Christoph Waltz, other than his breakout role in Inglourious Bastards, I don't think he's done very good movies. He was the villain in The Green Hornet, and I was like, what the hell?
He's the least of this movie's problems, though.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so the premise here is it's right on the line of being too silly to work, but it imagines a near future kind of scenario where a Norwegian scientist has worked out how to shrink human beings down to 5 inches in height permanently. And his idea is to build these utopian communities where everyone will shrink down to this tiny height and everyone will move into these communities, and it'll have a hugely beneficial impact on the environment, and global warming will be stopped and the world will be saved. So, and people are enticed to do this by being shown that their dollar goes 1,000 times further when they're shrunk down. So they can have a 12-bedroom mansion, or they can buy a full set of diamond jewelry because everything is so small that it costs basically nothing, and everyone can be rich. But let's have a listen to a clip from one of the trailers for Downsizing.
That's Dave Johnson.
Hey, everybody.
And Carol. He never struck me as the kind of guy who'd go get small.
Downsizing takes the pressure right off.
Plus, you're really making a difference.
You mean all that crap about saving the planet?
Yeah.
Downsizing is about saving yourself. We live like kings. Got the best houses, best restaurants, Cheesecake Factory. Got 3 of them.
This sounds like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but in a alternate universe.
Yeah, it's kind of like the adult version of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but with an eco-friendly message or something. The problem with this movie is that it just feels like a university student speech. It's one of those cases where you feel like you're at a protest by a bunch of really activist-minded university students who are just kind of screaming at you to care about an issue.
Oh, my favorite.
It's, Alexander Payne in the past, he's definitely made movies that are socially conscious, because you look at, The Descendants is about medically assisted death and a person's legacy. Nebraska is about an elderly relative dealing with dementia. So it's not like he's new to this type of movie making, but the problem here is he's kind of stretching the scope of the movie out to the entire planet. He's not really giving us something that's unique to a particular character. And it feels like in doing that, he doesn't really trust us to get the point of the movie. He just hits us over the head with it over and over and over again. And no amount of jokes about, oh, look, they're little tiny things, or now, everything is big for the tiny people and all that. None of that really, that can't sustain a movie that's just lecturing you for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, which is, I think, like we kind of talked about this before, but I guess the problem with Mother, Darren Aronofsky's new film, is that it really hits you over the head with certain allegories, and I think you lose people like that if you don't allow them to think for themselves, which I think was Christopher Nolan's like greatest strength.
Yeah he lets moments breathe, and if you don't get it, so much the better, because you can come back and watch it a second time.
Yeah, exactly.
With Downsizing, it's there's plenty of redeemable bits, and I liked it a lot more than, say, the Current War, but you feel the length of it. At the end of it, you're getting to like the 2-hour 15 mark, and you're like, all right, wrap it up. Come on.
I had forgotten what The Descendants was all about, actually. I don't remember the plot.
Yeah. I said, well, it's like, the George Clooney's character's wife is injured in a boating accident and she's in a coma.
Wasn't there a storyline about her being like her cheating on him?
Yeah, she had cheated on him, but like he was struggling with whether or not to pull the plug on her, because obviously she wasn't going to come out of the coma. In the meantime, he's also trying to deal with what to do with the family land.
I see.
And he traces it back to the land being like part of the Hawaiian royal family's estate.
Right.
That had a bit of an eco message in it too, but it was kind of in the background. It didn't have implications stretching across the entire globe. So,
well, on my end, I'm definitely looking for TIFF, which is not as big event as TIFF, but I feel like that's to my advantage, because then I can get tickets to whatever screening I want.
Yes, this is true. The fight for TIFF tickets is kind of legendary. Sometimes
Yeah, did you go to the red carpet this year?
No, a few friends of mine went to the red carpet, but I've kind of gotten over the...
You're over the Hollywood stars.
Yeah. I mean, in many cases, the stars of the movies will come to the screenings anyways to talk about the movies during the Q&As. So you get to see them either way.
I was waiting for you to take a picture of Adele Exarchopoulos, but...
Oh, I have a photo if you want it. I know. I'll send it to you, but... Yeah, because Adele Exarchopoulos and Matthias Schoenaerts came to the screening of Racer and the Jailbird, which is their new movie.
Yeah. Okay, so did you watch that, right?
I did, yeah.
Okay, so that was interesting to me because I heard two completely different things on the internet. Some people thought it was a very interesting film, but interesting could mean a lot of things. And
right.
The general feeling I got was that it wasn't a very good film at all.
Yeah, this is something that is going to be divisive, and that's probably because the film itself is kind of divided in its tone. It starts out as being this kind of super sexy European heist movie where Adele Exarchopoulos plays this female race car driver, and Matthias Schoenaerts plays a bank robber who falls in love with her. And so the first half of the movie it doesn't do anything like super special with the genre. It's really well executed. It's well shot. It's well scripted.
Mm-hmm.
The heist scenes are pretty explosive. So you're into that and you're thinking, all right, this is, nothing super new, but I like it, well done. And then at the halfway mark, the bank robbers get caught, and then the movie transforms into something completely different. It becomes this crazy melodrama involving ovarian cancer, miscarriages, Albanian human traffickers.
What?
And a big long tracking shot at the end that with its droning music and you're with a super ambiguous ending. And I went to see the movie with friend of the show, Kate Wilkinson, and we turned to each other at the end of the screening. We were like, well, that was different. I mean, if you like the actors involved and you have a certain amount of patience for crazy tonal shifts, then you might like it. It's by the Belgian director of The Drop, the Tom Hardy movie from 2014.
Which I didn't really like. I think you liked it.
I liked it more than you. I mean, I wasn't blown away by it. But Adele Exarchopoulos and Matthias Schoenaerts came to the Q&A, and much fun was had. Matthias was dancing around the stage a little bit, and Adele was looking very kind of fashion model-y.
She probably wasn't completely all mentally there.
Yeah, they said something about being at a dinner beforehand, so make of that what you will.
Oh yeah, they definitely hammered.
Yeah, but hey, it's, they're there to have fun as much as promote their movie, I guess.
Right. And how was she? She, like, I haven't seen all of her movies, but I remember being blown away by Blue is the Warmest Color, but then seeing her in other stuff and not being overly impressed.
I think the thing that strikes me the most about her is how mature of an actress she is, even though she's like 23 years old.
Yeah. Well, she was like 18 when she did Blue is the Warmest Color, which is crazy.
And but she has this kind of screen presence that befits an actor like 10 years older than her. So that's kind of interesting to watch, and she definitely harnesses that again in this one.
I think that's pretty typical with a lot of French actresses I've seen. Remember when Léa Seydoux first came out? She definitely had a presence as well, even though she was quite young, and she still has a presence too.
There's a real strong film tradition there. I mean, they're one of the countries that's been making films almost as long as the medium's been around. So
very mature films, even Marion Cotillard too, right?
Yeah. For any listeners out there who kind of get bored by foreign films, go check out French films, because that's an excellent place to start. I think you'll find some pretty intense stuff.
Yeah. Did you get to see The Disaster Artist?
I did, yeah. That was also on my list to talk about. The Disaster Artist. Oh, boy. Maybe first thing we should do is cut to a clip from the trailer.
When I get up on stage in front of people, all I can think about is, what if they laugh at me? You, man, you're fearless. I want to feel that, too.
I don't care. I'll do it. You and me, we both have this dream.
Yeah, I guess we do.
And we'll be famous. We'll show them.
Watch out, here we come. To be or not to be?
It's not going to happen for you. Not in a million years.
But after that, this town, Greg, they don't want me.
Wish we could just make our own movie.
A great idea.
If you haven't heard of The Disaster Artist, shame on you. It's a behind-the-scenes making of dramatization of how The Room was made. And I think we may have mentioned this briefly on a previous episode of the podcast, but if not, and you've never heard of The Room, I don't know where you've been on the internet for the past 15 years, but The Room is one of those movies that's held up as being one of the worst films ever made.
Because it has lines like, "Hey, so how's your sex life?"
Yeah, but well, I mean, you could put that line, if that line was properly put into a piece of dialogue, it would make sense. But in this case, they're talking about like the main character getting a promotion at the bank where he works, and then he just randomly turns the conversation around. So yeah, his
delivery is so good. So bad it's good.
Exactly. And so The Room was produced by this mysterious guy named Tommy Wiseau, who to this day nobody knows where he's from, how old he is, where he made his money. People ask him all the time in public, and of course he never tells anybody. He always gets a creepy smile and changes the subject. He desperately wanted to be famous. He desperately wanted to be an actor. Nobody in Hollywood would take him seriously, so he put allegedly $6 million of his own dollars into this film called The Room, which has some of the worst dialogue, some of the worst staging, terrible effects, tasteless sex scenes. It's, it is held up rightly as a midnight movie for the ages, and it's got this whole tradition around the midnight screenings. And to his credit, Tommy Wiseau and his lead actor Greg Sestero, they go to these midnight screenings and they take questions from the audience, and they participate in this whole experience around this horrible thing. And so along comes James Franco, who gets the rights to adapt the book that Greg Sestero wrote about being part of The Room. And he brings on a cast that Tommy Wiseau wishes he had access to, including Dave Franco, Seth Rogen, Alison Brie, Bryan Cranston, Josh Hutcherson, Zac Efron. Yeah, just like the, creme de la creme of Hollywood comedy. And they stage the making of this movie. They go back a few years to when Greg Sestero and Tommy Wiseau first met in an acting class in San Francisco, and they chart how, they tried to get a break in Hollywood, didn't get anywhere, and found themselves making The Room. And, in a sense, The Disaster Artist, if you've never seen The Room, I think you'll still enjoy it. It's still really well made. Tommy Wiseau is played by James Franco in this remarkable impersonation. Like, at times you can't tell them apart. It's some people are even saying that James Franco should be nominated for Best Actor for this performance because it's so in character.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, so it now it's like, obviously it's not like a 5 out of 5 kind of movie. You know, there's going to be spots where you feel like the jokes could have been better delivered, or, you know, one thing or another. So for me, it was like a 4 out of 5. You know, still really strong, and naturally you will get a whole lot more out of it if you've seen The Room, or if you've at least seen a highlights reel on YouTube or something.
If you haven't seen The Room, you should just go see the highlights. Like, you don't have to sit through the whole movie because it's Now I did. I screened The Room for myself before I went to see The Disaster Artist. For full context, it was painful. That's an hour and 40 minutes of my life that I won't get back. This is one of those movies that, like, you should just get drunk or do something, drugs or something, and then watch it. Yeah. And then just kind of go along with the ride.
But what an experience to see it too, because it came to TIFF. It was the first time it had ever been screened anywhere in a final cut form. It had been brought to South by Southwest a few months ago, but in kind of like a draft cut. This was the world premiere. It was a midnight screening. We didn't get out until 3 a.m. Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero and the whole cast came, and we were, people were knocking a giant inflatable football around the theater before the movie started. When the jokes landed during the movie, the place just went up, like super loud, stadium kind of atmosphere. And of course, there was Tommy in the midst of it all, doing his thing.
I love, like, the pre-screening press tour. People were asking, like, what how is the movie? What would you do? Like, how would you change it? And of all the things he could have said, he critiqued, like, the lighting in this one scene from the movie. And I think that tells you all you need to know about Tommy Wiseau and just how weird he is.
Because, he firmly believes in his heart that he is a filmmaker of great renown.
Well, it is a fact he made a film.
But he believes, like, the hilarious thing, and this is actually put into The Disaster Artist, when he was making The Room, he saw it as like an Oscar-worthy work. And it was a drama for the ages. It was a quintessential American story.
What drugs do you have to be on to be so delusional?
I don't think he doesn't do drugs. He doesn't even drink.
No, but I mean, like,
he's just crazy.
Like, what's going on with the brain chemistry there?
Yeah, but I mean, it was perfect brain chemistry in my view, because he goes and he, like, he sinks all of this money into making it, and he tortures his cast to get it made, and all of this is documented in the film. And then he takes it, he does this big glitzy premiere at a Hollywood theater. And of course, the second the audience realizes what's happening, they're laughing uproariously at him. And what James Franco does as the director is he cuts back and forth from the super accurate recreations that he's filmed of the classic scenes to a shot of him kind of realizing what's happening as Tommy Wiseau. And you actually feel bad for Tommy in that moment. And I think that's a credit to the movie that, as horrible as he's been to everyone around him, you feel bad that people are laughing at him.
Yeah, I can see that.
But then in a mega maniacal kind of twist, he decides in that moment that when he gets up to talk about the movie afterwards, he's immediately going to call it a comedy. It's no longer a drama. And so he presents it as being like, this was the whole point all along.
Of course, Tommy. Yeah, of course.
And that's where he finds himself 15 or 16 years later. He brings the Room to midnight screenings all around the world, and he kind of
He's famous.
He leans into it. He's got the fame. He just didn't get it the way he wanted to, but he pretends like it was his intention the entire time. So that's kind of beautiful in its own way.
Yeah. So speaking of upcoming movies, we've got a pretty heavy slate for fall too.
Yes, I think I'll be seeing the Kingsman sequel in the near future. So that's coming up like this week.
It comes out with the Lego Ninjago movie, which I'm kind of excited for.
Yep. I mean, that seems like it'll be, very much like
it'll
the
make
Lego,
a lot of money.
It'll make a lot of money. It'll be very much like the Lego Batman movie, like just broadening out the Lego movie universe even more.
Yeah. And then there's Stronger with the Jake Gyllenhaal Boston Marathon biopic.
Yep, that played really well at TIFF.
It did it? It sounds like people, a really cheesy biopic.
It was a crowd pleaser, It was one of those things that like TIFF likes to have in their lineup for the casual moviegoers who don't have patience for the headier stuff.
Battle of the Sexes looks good. Like, I'm not the biggest Emma Stone fan, but she's excellent in whatever she does.
Yeah, I saw that at the festival too.
And
It's pretty much what you thought. It's a very like competently made biopic, crowd pleaser, lots of like dialogue that's intended to kind of speak to our current political moment and trying to get more equality for women in society. So it's got a lot of those kind of calls to action in it. So
yeah, I'm sure it's pretty vanilla, but quite enjoyable all around.
It's a safe date movie kind of bet. So nothing especially wrong with it. Definitely not boring, but also not super special.
And then up next is American Made with Tom Cruise. Do you think he can get his career back on track after the travesty that was The Mummy?
I feel like it, yeah, because like, he's working with a director that he kind of likes, Doug Liman, and this is a movie that kind of puts him front and center, which is really
He's always front and center.
I know, but like The Mummy Returns also tried to bring in a whole bunch of other stuff, apparently. Was
with
it even
Tom
called
Cruise
The Mummy?
as the lead.
Was it called The Mummy Returns? I can't even remember. Was it just
No, it's called The Mummy.
Okay, whatever. But I feel like there was too much supernatural stuff kind of biting his heels in that. Like he really sings in these movies that are like less supernatural and more like Tom Cruise being an action hero kind of stuff.
It's interesting that a guy who does very good sci-fi action movies can't do a fantasy type. Like, did Legends sell that well? It didn't sell that very, very well either, did it? It was a Ridley Scott film, and it's like a fairy tale, and he plays this guy called Jack, and he goes against the Lord of Darkness, who's played by Tim Curry.
Oh, I've never heard of this.
His love interest is a princess. Yes. Okay, so this was like made in 1980s. I want to say mid 1985, late 1980s maybe. But yeah, so never mind then.
Well, I mean,
it was obviously a movie to forget for Tom.
Yeah,
Cruise.
so but it kind of serves your point though, because if maybe fantasy just really isn't his thing, or I mean, one of the larger problems with The Mummy was that it really had no official director. Like the guy who was in the director's seat, it was his first film as a feature director. You know, he'd previously just been a screenwriter, and it sounded like Tom Cruise spent most of his time on set kind of telling the guy how to be a director. So it had a bit of a leadership problem.
Yeah, well, that would explain a lot of things. So I can't remember what movie I went to see, but I also saw the trailer for Flatliners, which is coming out the same day as American Made. Yes. And it looks horrible.
Yeah, it's a remake of a pre-existing Kiefer Sutherland movie.
Is it?
Yeah, and apparently he reprises his character and comes in a cameo or something. It'll probably be stupid.
It looks really fucking dumb.
Yeah, it looks like Final Destination, but with like a medical twist or something.
But see, I kind of liked Final Destination. It was in the first two, I think. It was the first two it was actually kind of interesting, and it was like in the era where teen horror movies were kind of in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was different. It didn't have like a serial killer running around. Like you never actually see the danger.
Right.
Or the villain, I should say. The week after that is Blade Runner 2049.
Oh man, so excited for that.
I know. Oh my God. I
will be crushed if that isn't as good as I'm being led to believe.
I'm kind of prepared for it not to be good though.
Really?
Or not
Are you kind of insulating yourself? You're ready to take it if it's bad?
Yeah, I'm prepared for it to not be as good as the original, because I really love the original. It's like,
I mean, it would be hard for it to be, you know.
Right, but it's got everything going for it, right? It's like Gosling, Villeneuve.
But like let's say that the original Blade Runner is like a solid 5 out of 5, like
sure
100% on Rotten Tomatoes kind of thing. Like, would Blade Runner 2049 be like a 95%? Will it be like a 90%? Will it still be like one of the best blockbuster movies of the year, but just not as great as the original? That's the crucial question for me, because if it's still in that like 90% range, then I'm still going to love it to death.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it would be, objectively speaking, a good movie. What I'm afraid is if Blade Runner is 100, then Blade Runner 2049 is an 85 or an 80. That's when I start getting a little worried. We have to keep in mind though, like when the original Blade Runner came out, it was so fresh and so new, and it introduced so many new things that had previously not been done often enough in movies. And we're in the era where, like, especially you and me having seen so many movies, we're in an era where like not a lot of things surprise us anymore.
Yeah.
There are not a lot of milestones that the film industry or the films itself can. It's just like the CGI gets better and better. The sound maybe gets better and better, but the plot and the story and certain nuances and certain new ideas, I think it's really hard.
When I'm confronted with a movie like that, I still want to defend it because I still want to make it clear that it's still head and shoulders above most other stuff in that genre or even most other stuff of the year, but making it clear that like it's still a long way to go before you get to be something as innovative as the original.
Yes, innovative. That was kind of like innovative and original. Two words I'm looking for. So I hope Blade Runner 2049 is innovative and original. I think it's going to be really tough to do in this day and age, but I'm hopeful.
What else is coming out in October? We've got The Snowman, which is for Fassbender fans, myself included. That's, you know, I'm a big mystery, like detective fiction kind of guy. So I doubt The Snowman's going to do anything like, again, innovative or super different for the genre, but it looks really well executed.
Well, there's going to also, before that, there's going to be The Florida Project, which I'm hoping to catch at VIFF.
Oh, yeah. That's from the director of Tangerine, right?
Sean Baker.
Yeah, I think it was Tangerine. He shot his entire first feature all on iPhone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to catch that. There's also the new Jackie Chan action picture directed by Martin Campbell, who did Casino Royale, The Foreigner, which I don't think will do that great because we kind of know what to expect.
The poster made it look kind of stupid.
Yeah. And then Breathe, which I think you had kind of followed with Andrew Garfield and Claire Foy.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Breathe is very much one of those movies where you watch the trailer and you're like, oh yeah, this is grubbing for an Oscar. It's basically a story about a famous case about a guy with I think it was some sort of disability that paralyzed him from the neck down, and I think he was trying to get some previously unavailable rights or something like that. And it's one of those movies where like it's like triumph over the system and getting more rights for people with disabilities, you know. So there's a lot of tear-jerker kind of things in there, and probably the most notable thing about it is that it's the feature directing debut of Andy Serkis, who previously was, you know, everyone knows him as Gollum in Lord of the Rings, King Kong, Caesar in the Planet of the Apes films. And he had done some assistant directing on The Hobbit, but this is his first time as the director of his own project.
And then we have some more Oscar bait with Goodbye Christopher Robin with Domhnall Gleeson and Margot Robbie.
Yep, again, a lot of like crowd pleasing kind of period piece stuff in there.
Yep. It kind of reminds me of Finding Neverland, which I think is kind of like a forgotten movie that's actually quite good.
Yeah, people should hold that up whenever Johnny Depp is getting bad press.
Yeah.
Which is often.
Yeah. Speaking of bad press, I'm fully expecting Geostorm to be terrible.
Yeah, that's around like the 20th of October or something.
This is a movie that's supposed to be like one of those like Roland Emmerich, the world is ending type.
Yeah, except it's a knockoff of that. So it's like a knockoff of a knockoff.
Not even that. It's so bad. It was delayed like 2 or 3 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, which makes me wonder, like, I mean, why is the distributor trying to dump it in the middle of prestige picture time? Like, are they just trying to bury it? You know, it's basically Gerard Butler struggling to control the climate with satellites, and then there's like tornado outbreaks in India and giant waves that destroy things. And yeah, so if you've seen Day After Tomorrow, you've pretty much already seen this. It's just more.
Yeah. And usually this time of year we kind of get like those like classic American hero stories.
Yeah.
So this time it's Only the Brave, which is about firefighters, and it has Josh Brolin in it, Jennifer Connelly and Miles Teller, and then we have Suburbicon, which is George Clooney's film.
Yes, and this has been doing very poorly on the critical consensus.
Why do you think that is?
Apparently, there's an aspect of it that has not been really well advertised in the marketing, and that's you go into it thinking that it's going to be a classic kind of Coen Brothers 1950s mobster kind of thing, where like Matt Damon's character has to get one over on a gang that's operating in suburbia in this otherwise idyllic neighborhood. But apparently there's this whole other side of the movie about white supremacy that has made many critics feel like there's this really like it's two movies in one fighting with each other, and none of it really delivers.
I see.
But then I've also run into people at the festival who loved it and thought that it was kind of a special piece of work. So I really don't know what to make of it at this point. I'll probably see it though when it comes out, just to.
Yeah, we'll have to go see it. And then following that, we have The Killing of a Sacred Deer, which I'm hoping to see at VIFF, which is Yorgos Lanthimos.
Yes, Yorgos Lanthimos, the Greek filmmaker. This is his second film in English. Also his second film with Colin Farrell in the lead.
Colin Farrell is just a great character actor.
I remember kind of hating him back in the early 2000s, but now I love everything he's in.
Yeah, because in the early 2000s, like everyone in Hollywood is trying to make him like the next Tom Cruise or like the next action star, but he really isn't. It's kind of like Brad Pitt in that sense, although I think he's miles like ahead of Brad Pitt in terms of acting, but he's a great character actor. Every time he plays like this really weird, quirky character, he knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, and apparently this one is even more like weird and gory than The Lobster, so.
Oh, I'm sure it is. And then, I don't know if you've heard of this, but there's a movie called Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman.
Yes, I've seen the trailer for it.
Okay, so I get the feeling that this is gonna fucking bomb.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
because I heard really good things about it. Like, critically speaking.
Yeah, I've heard good things too, and it's about this guy who basically invents Wonder Woman, right?
Yeah, the original like Professor Marston, who, you know, on the surface was a very boring academic, but secretly had 2 wives and some kind of like bondage fetish.
So that'll be interesting to see. I don't have particularly high hopes. I wonder if people are gonna be duped into seeing this movie thinking they're gonna get a Wonder Woman action film and just get this like weird
maybe
bondage, weird biopic with bondage in it, kind of like that Fassbender movie with Keira Knightley. What was that one called? The one with Freud. Do you remember?
Oh, A Dangerous Method.
Yeah, Dangerous Method. Yeah. Imagine going to see Wonder Woman, taking your kid and watching A Dangerous Method instead.
Yeah, that'll cause a few complaints with the local multiplex.
And then Thor Ragnarok, which is my bet to be the best superhero film of the year, although I really enjoyed Spider-Man Homecoming, to my own surprise.
Did you see the 1980s version of the trailer that Nerdist put together yesterday?
No, I have not.
It's a lot of fun. It's pretty much it's bits and pieces of the pre-existing trailer, but presented in the very 1980s VHS trailer style with lots of bad video effects and.
Yeah, I miss the old trailers.
Yeah, so it's kind of like that, but like I don't know what it is. The cosmic, quote unquote, the cosmic movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe are the best for me. Totally. This kind of poppy color and the jokes sell themselves a lot better for me. They don't have this kind of, they don't seem to have as much of a need for the fan service as the Avengers films. So yeah, even though this is on its surface like a team up movie between Thor and the Incredible Hulk, I don't know, it feels more genuine to me.
Yeah, I think it's also because when you have a film with Iron Man and Captain America, you kind of need to have fan service because the characters are so recognizable. And
it's going to be like sort of the blockbuster debut of Taika Waititi as the director.
Yes.
Who people might recognize from the Hunt for the Wilder People, which was probably one of the best movies of 2016 that nobody saw. Prior to that, this great mockumentary about vampires living in New Zealand called What We Do in the Shadows. Which I think is on for our listeners in Canada. That's on Netflix Canada right now, and I highly recommend it if you want a kind of supernatural documentary type of thing.
I'm also looking at this picture or this film for a November 3rd release called Roman J. Israel is Esquire, which is the Dan Gilroy film with Denzel and Colin Farrell.
Yes, so this was a late addition to TIFF. It was added to the schedule maybe 2 days before the festival opened, and people were like, "What? Like, we didn't know there was any more movies coming." And from what I heard, like just overhearing people in the lines that I was standing in for various venues, people had seen it and they said it was wretched. Like it almost made Denzel look worse as an actor because it was so bad.
Really? That's too bad, especially coming from Dan Gilroy, who did a really fine job with Nightcrawler.
Yeah, I hear like the movie that he's working on now with more of the Nightcrawler team, like obviously that's still in production, and that could be a kind of a bit of a redemption for him. But from the sounds of this, like this movie kind of came out of nowhere. Nobody really knew what to make of it.
Maybe it was like under the radar for good reason, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I think they it might have been filling a slot that had been vacated by the Paul Rudd biopic movie, The Catcher Was a Spy, I believe it's called, where he plays a 1930s era baseball catcher who goes and joins the OSS, which was the precursor to the CIA. So that movie didn't make it to TIFF. It wasn't ready in time. So I think maybe Roman J. Israel was dropped in its place to fill in a hole.
I'll have to look into that Paul Rudd movie because I had heard nothing about that. It seems like an interesting premise, and I like Paul Rudd.
I'm not sure when it's going to premiere. It might come to like the New York Film Festival or one of the ones later in the schedule.
And then there's Murder on the Orient Express, which I hope is good because the trailer sucked.
Oh yeah, that Imagine Dragons thing at the end was.
Imagine Dragons is a terrible band. I don't know why they're on radio all the time, but they're awful. So I mean, I don't know. What's your feeling? I know you like Kenneth Branagh.
I like Kenneth Branagh, and I also like the Poirot TV show that's been running for the past 25 years.
He looks nothing like Poirot, though.
Well,
or like what I had imagined to be.
I mean, yeah, most people nowadays, like their image of Poirot is defined by David Suchet's portrayal on the PBS series, and those mysteries were just consistently well done over the years. And so now I think Kenneth Branagh almost felt a need to kind of come in and really shake things up and like go in a completely different direction, even down to like the design of Poirot's mustache, because they go from like this,
which is also like a huge risk, eh?
Yeah, oh yeah, because you can really, if you're trying to reach out to people who are pre-existing fans of Poirot and kind of hit them with a very different, very edgy version of Poirot, then that could kind of put a bad taste in people's mouths.
And then we have another biopic, LBJ, with Rob Reiner and Woody Harrelson's playing him.
Oh, it's Woody Harrelson this time, yeah, because there was another LBJ one with Bryan Cranston last year or the year before, I think.
Not sure what to make of this one. They generally tend to be pretty good biopics. They're never terrible. It's just a matter of how good it is. Woody Harrelson's been really good. He's kind of had a bit of a kind of like a comeback recently.
Yeah, like he had a bit of a weird period when he was making stuff like Rampart, and nobody on the internet liked him because he didn't know how to do Reddit AMAs.
Well, Reddit AMAs are kind of notorious for being like PR stunt machines, but they get sniffed out pretty fast.
Yeah, so like he has like one of the legendarily bad ones for Rampart at the time. Like I don't think his people had explained to him what the point of it was, so he wouldn't, like, people were trying to ask him really, really interesting questions, and he would only say like, well, I'm not going to talk about that, but go see Rampart on.
Totally missed the point. Kind of like when Morgan Freeman did it, and people like were just wouldn't have anything to do with it because they snuffed it out and realized that it was just a huge PR stunt.
But yeah, to your point, though, I mean, Woody Harrelson has been working with some really interesting directors like Martin McDonagh in 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Yeah, he's one of those weird actors that kind of like is hot and cold. Like he'll be really good and then he'll disappear for a little bit and he'll come back and then remind everyone like why he's so good. I saw him in Edge of 17 and I thought he was good. And I think you and I kind of disagree on the movie, but we both agree that he was really good in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Or sorry, War of the Planet of the Apes.
War of the Planet of the Apes. Yeah, he did play a really good villain in that.
And then after that, it's our favorite franchise back at it, Justice League.
Bum, bum, bum. Yeah, we talked about this in a previous episode. Like,
yeah, I'm looking forward to it still. I'm going to go see it, but yeah.
I'm entirely prepared to be burned by that.
I think there will be enough scenes in it to redeem it somewhat, but I hope it's not nearly as messy as Man of Steel or Batman v Superman. And then we have Coco.
Yeah, the new Pixar film. I almost forgot about that one, actually.
How could you forget about Pixar? Come on.
This has been a busy year. I don't know.
It's been we've had like a slow start to the year and then we didn't have a particularly good summer, but this fall and winter is shaping up to be like pretty darn crammed.
Oh, come on now. We had a better summer than that. We had a bad August, but there was a string of really good things in June and July.
You think so? What was good?
Baby Driver, which I loved. I know you didn't like it as much as I did, but I love Baby Driver, so that was a highlight from June. The Big Sick, Spider-Man Homecoming, War for the Planet of the Apes, Dunkirk, Atomic Blonde.
Did you love Atomic Blonde though?
I liked it a lot. Yeah, I didn't love it, but I liked it a lot. Like it was still that and the other things like that, and like Dunkirk and Baby Driver and the rest of the July releases were strong enough that I felt like this summer was better than last.
Well, actually, we'll have to go back to, okay, what was last summer? Because last summer wasn't very good either. I thought this summer would be better than last summer, but I probably would imagine it's about the same. Last summer was X-Men Apocalypse, which just made a lot of money. Warcraft, which is terrible. Independence Day was terrible. Legend of Tarzan did nothing. BFG did nothing. Yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. This summer was better, but in my opinion, this summer was still pretty not so good. We had Pirates was terrible. Baywatch was terrible. King Arthur was a flop. Guardians, I thought the first one was better, but I still enjoy the second.
All right.
Mummy, we talked about the Mummy,
and there was this summer also had Logan Lucky, and then it had a Ghost Story.
But Logan Lucky's not a hit though.
Well, okay. So what are we using to define a good summer then? Are we talking box office or critical response?
Box office, because summer is just box office.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, I see what you're saying then.
Yeah. So summer, I don't think you release Oscar bait in the summer. It's like releasing a boxing movie in the summer. It just doesn't work.
Well, no, but like I'm judging the summer based on like how many movies I saw that I love. Not even movies that'll like do well with the Oscars, like just movies that I out and out enjoyed.
Okay, well, in that case, I would say this summer is better, but I haven't seen as many films this year as I have last year or last summer.
Anyways.
Yes, anyways.
Tangent.
That's okay. This is what happens when you talk about movies. You just go on crazy deep holes and tangents. Deep dives.
Hey, that's what this show is all about.
Oh, Call Me by Your Name. So this is a Sony Pictures Classics film. Do you know what this is?
Yeah, it's sort of a summer romance between an older man and a
Armie Hammer,
and then a younger man played by Timothée Chalamet.
Yes. So this is another one I'm hoping to catch at VIFF as well. So that's an interesting one. I do feel like we are in to nobody's surprise, I guess, LGBT films have kind of come to the forefront a lot more recently.
Yep.
We had Moonlight. We talked about Blue is the Warmest Color a little earlier. So Call Me by Your Name, I'm interested to see, considering the sort of controversy that's kind of been surrounding the film in regards to like how inappropriate that relationship may be.
Oh yeah.
Although that just might be like James Woods being,
Oh well, I mean, yeah. If our judgment over controversy is James Woods' Twitter feed, then he gets it discounted right away. That guy's a creep.
And then we have another freaking biopic about political figures with Darkest Hour. Gary Oldman's playing Winston Churchill.
Yeah, and actually, Variety recently put him forward as a early contender for Best Actor. People are saying it's one of the best performances in a very long career.
Oh, no way. That movie also has Lily James, who I think throughout all of Baby Driver, I thought she was the most impressive actor in that film.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Because she totally exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, she does a lot with
very little.
Yeah, a potentially like sidelineable character.
And then we have, I know you've kind of soured on him a little bit. Kate Winslet has a new movie coming out with Woody Allen. It's called Wonder Wheel. It has Justin Timberlake, so right away I'm already going to write it off.
I wouldn't say I'm like totally sworn off Woody Allen at this point. I'd still tolerate him.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of wish that he actually cared about what he was putting out as opposed to just making movies for the sake of it.
That's a good criticism. I'm kind of in the same boat as you in regards to Woody Allen. Not that I was a huge fan in the first place, but he's just totally gone off the spectrum, and I'm not sure I enjoy his work anymore. All the Money in the World, coming from my favorite Ridley Scott, which is another biopic. It's about John Paul Getty.
Oh yeah, and Kevin Spacey goes under some pretty intense makeup stuff to play Getty.
Right. So, I mean, when that whole kidnapping happened, we weren't even born yet. So this is going to be interesting for us because we're looking at this with totally new eyes, right?
Yeah, this is like a tabloid story that a lot of people of our generation just have no reference for.
Right. The only thing I know about the Gettys is that their kid is Balthazar Getty, who's an actor. So we have a lot of biopics, a lot more than normal.
Yeah, maybe.
This is Oscar bait season, so you're going to get a lot of these.
Yeah, you're just, and, you know, obviously they'll be of varying qualities.
I imagine the best actor and best actress categories are going to be pretty competitive this year, considering the material that's come out and the names that are out there.
Yeah, like Frances McDormand is probably going to be up for Best Actress for 3 Billboards. Emma Stone might be up again for A Battle of the Sexes because it's such a crowd pleaser.
Yeah.
Yeah, naturally. Andrew Garfield might be a 2-time nominee.
Oh, God.
Really? I mean, I still kind of like him.
I still can't stand Andrew Garfield.
You know what you're going to get from him, but the one thing about this Breathe movie that he's probably going to be nominated for is that he does have to spend most of the movie being paralyzed, so...
Yeah, they love this stuff, huh?
They love this stuff, but, like, you can see why, because as an actor, like, that's a gigantic challenge to not be able to use your hands or move about the room. Like, you just have to sell people with just your head.
So Kevin Spacey's doing that too, John Paul Getty.
Yeah, he's kind of burying himself under all this prosthetic and, you know.
And then that brings us to December, and in December, we all know it's Star Wars time.
Star Wars month.
I really hope this is good. Because you and I disagree on The Force Awakens. I didn't particularly like it. So I'm
preparing myself for a big fight over this one because I feel like it's going to borrow too much from Empire Strikes Back and you're going to be deeply insulted.
It's possible. It's possible. I don't want to say defensive, but I'm very like particular about Star Wars stuff and how everything that is outside of the movies has kind of been like wiped off. Do you know when that trailer's going to drop?
Mark Hamill got in some hot water today for apparently letting slip that it's going to come out next month.
Dude, who cares? He didn't say anything. He's just saying that he's building up hype, if anything.
Yeah, but you know that Kathleen Kennedy is going to get him on the phone and be like, you shouldn't have done that, Mark.
Interesting thing about Kathleen Kennedy, we know that she recently just fired Colin Trevorrow.
Yes, from episode 9.
Which I would argue objectively is a good move because Jurassic World sucked.
It hasn't aged well for you, has it?
No, not even it hasn't aged well. It's just objectively, it's a pretty boring movie. It doesn't hold a light to Jurassic Park at all. There was this rumor I read that because Kathleen Kennedy's butting heads so much with her directors, including Phil Lord and the guys who are doing the Han Solo movie, that there is some speculation that she may be replaced. Either she moves into a new role or they hire someone else to handle the directors.
Yeah, because after a while, like if I were an executive at Disney, I would start to wonder, like, is she really the final arbiter of the Star Wars vision that everyone says she is, or is she just like making these movies on her terms? And
granted, she has like an immensely difficult job.
Oh yeah, and like I don't think anybody would envy that role that she plays and kind of being the final word on what makes it in and what doesn't. But I don't think, I mean, any major corporation like Disney is going to look at what's been a string of kind of bad press for movies that are in the works and kind of wonder like, do we need somebody else in that role?
Considering we're gonna have one more Star Wars movie, which is finally settled on J.J. Abrams as the director, and I don't imagine that'll cause any problems.
No, it's a very safe choice. You know, some people said that Rian Johnson would just spill over and jump right into episode 9 once he finishes with The Last Jedi. But then there were other people. Again, you know, this is Star Wars we're talking about, so like no one decision is ever satisfying the entire fan base. Some people complained that Lucasfilm wasted a chance to bring in a woman or a person of color to direct episode 9, and you know they were just playing it super safe. But
kind of like with Justice League and Blade Runner, I'm kind of like cautiously optimistic.
I already kind of know that I'm going to enjoy it because I'm enough of a fan that I will apologize for all of its faults.
And I'm enough of a fan to demand something better and bigger.
That's how it is. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's the big titan in December. Like that's going to eat up a lot of attention, a lot of box office.
You mean it's not Pitch Perfect 3?
But The Disaster Artist does come out theatrically that month, so keep an eye out for that. As does The Shape of Water. Don't let that fall by the wayside.
And then there's also your favorite, Steven Spielberg, with Tom Hanks again.
Yep.
In The Post.
The Post, which used to be called The Papers, but yeah, it's one of those great American stories about journalists triumphing over evil government cover-ups.
Because we have a chance to like really finish off 2017 with the strongest note ever. Because we have that Spielberg film.
Yep.
Then we have The Greatest Showman, which is about P.T. Barnum.
Yep.
And then we have Paul Thomas Anderson, Daniel Day-Lewis in The Phantom Thread.
Oh yeah, and it has that title now. They've settled on that.
Yes. And I can't wait for The Phantom Thread because Paul Thomas Anderson is amazing. Probably my top 5 directors. And Daniel Day-Lewis, you know he's going to be good. And that's about it for December or for the year.
Yeah, that about does for the pretty much through the fall and up into the year. I don't know, that seems like a pretty good place to close things out for this episode. But head on over to kinetoscope.ca where we've posted 4 reviews from TIFF 2017 so far. There'll be more coverage based on what I saw at TIFF coming out as the movies hit theaters. And keep an eye out for some coverage from the Vancouver International Film Festival that Jason will be posting for us. But until next time, my name is Robert Snow in Toronto.
And my name is Jason Chen from Vancouver. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.